Well, welcome to Impromptu the Game for Thinkers. I am excited to have my special guest today, which is my middle child, Miss Ines. And so, Ines, here's how the game works. I'm going to just give 3 statements. Each one we're going to talk about for 5 minutes. Mr. Nate's going to cut us off at 5 minutes, right? So I'm going to just throw it out. We'll talk for 5 minutes, then he'll cut us off, then we'll do it 2 other times, all right?
Okay.
And for you, me and you are big word people, right?
Yeah.
So we love words and riddles and stuff like that. And so for yours, all of yours are word based, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with this one, right? The first one is, this is the game, Impromptu, the game for thinkers, right? So I'm going to say it really slow because words matter, right?
Yeah.
So it's Impromptu is the game for thinkers. And I think only thinkers would think that thinking could be a game.
Yeah, that's very true.
All right? Only thinkers could think that thinking would be a game, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, when we talk about impromptu, only a certain type of person is going to enjoy the game,
Yeah.
right? What type of person do you think that is?
You.
Well, of course, me. I'm hosting the game, all right? But what kind of person? What are the...
Well, someone who just like enjoys thinking in general. They just like think like all the time.
Now, that's my thought. I think most people don't like thinking.
That's very true.
Really? You
Yeah.
think so too? Tell me why.
Well, number one, like the games and the videos and all of the stuff, like just for entertainment in general, doesn't involve thinking at all. And the only way that you would like actually think is when you're doing work.
I think people don't even like thinking at work.
That's very true.
Here's what I think. I think most people, in fact, I think our culture is doing this to us. And this is actually what my book and my dissertation and all that stuff was about: epistemic motivation and need for cognitive closure, all this kind of stuff. But here's what I think. I think thinking hurts most people, right? Not hurts them externally, but internally, right? That for them, thinking feels like work, right? So for me, what thinking is it forces you into a situation where you can't choose, and people like to choose, right?
Yeah.
So if I say to you, I'll just hypothetical one, right? And I'll say, all right, well, the largest mountain in the world is in the United States, right? But nobody in the United States has seen it. Right? You see how those two things seem contradictory.
Yes.
Right? And so you would have to kind of do something.
You have to think.
Right. And most people don't want to do that. Right? That feels like work. Right? They rather just choose one. Either it's the biggest mountain in the United States or nobody from the United States has seen it. You can't have both.
Yeah.
Right? But what thinking causes you to do is to take those two things and try to figure out how
they can be the same.
How they could work together, right? And I think that's why a lot of people get mad at me at Untangled, right? Because I think they want to be able to easily choose.
Yeah.
And I think that with the world we live in, the ministry I have to do, there are not a lot of black and white answers like that, right? So, right, if, for instance, I work with teenagers, right? And so one of the things that is going on right now in our country is the marijuana debate, the weed debate, right?
Yeah.
So there's not an easy answer for that, right? For us, quite literally, you step over to Missouri and they're like, oh, it's recreational. You can do what you want. And you step over to Kansas and they're like, don't you touch that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So as someone who lives in Missouri and does ministry in Kansas, it's kind of like, how do I navigate that tension? I don't get to just choose, right? I don't get to just choose and be like, it's wrong, it's right. I literally have to navigate a tension, right?
Yeah.
What I think a lot of people have grown up where the answers in Christianity were yes or no, black or white. And so they get frustrated when I'm trying to make things live in the gray, right? Because that causes thinking. And most people think of thinking as work because only thinkers would think of thinking as a game, right? So only thinkers would think of thinking as a game, right? Because for most people, thinking hurts.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on any of that?
Well, that is like entirely true because thinking, I can understand because thinking can be work. I mean, if it's like a real life problem, you have to think about which answer will like reflect on my life. Like I have to choose.
Well, I think, and that's where I was saying with your brother, I think if we stop thinking of thinking as work and think of it as imagination, it's so much cooler, right?
Yeah.
If you could imagine, instead of thinking about your life, imagine for your life. Right. And I think that's cooler. And I think
Yeah.
that's fun. And I think people would enjoy that. Right. But I think we've made thinking one thing and imagination another.
Yeah.
And as such, we love to imagine. We hate to think. Right.
Definitely.
And I'm like, well, why don't, but they're the same concept. I mean,
Yeah.
they're the same central theme, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because there's like a lot of things like that, like listening and hearing. Same concept, basically, like same base, but different things.
Different
But
things.
they also the same.
But they're same.
So you also have to think about that.
Yeah. And that, for me, what you just did, that whole thing, this is all fun for me, right? I am having a great time
Yeah.
just doing this. All right, all right. Okay, all right, all right. That was a fun one. All right. You ready? Here's another one.